Today, we start on the next stage of Moses' learning and his development as a leader. We've watched Moses learn to be himself, learn to be who God made him to be. And we do that as he grows up in the palace and then tries to do this on his own, killing the Egyptian soldiers, driven away from Egypt and out into Midian, where he begins to work for his father-in-law Jethro. And then these next years are spent in the deserts of Midian, tending over a flock of sheep, his father-in-law's sheep. And Moses does this. Now, most scholars take Moses' life and they break it down into three segments. And most scholars, based on what we read in the Old Testament, would say that each of those segments of Moses' life were 40 years apiece. So 40 years, 40 years, and 40 years. You say, well, that would make him 120 when he died. I understand that. And ages in the Old Testament seem to be longer. Not a discussion we really want to have right now. Well, what I want you to understand is the first 2/3 of his life are spent just learning to be himself. Listen, this is not an uncommon reality. It takes a long time to process who I am and what I do and how I can affect the world. Moses spends the first third of his life in Egypt learning to be an Egyptian, learning to be an Egyptian leader, learning to be an Egyptian help. He then is driven out because he kills the soldier. He's driven out. He spends the next third of his life out in the deserts of Midian, learning to be a shepherd, learning to be a servant, learning to be unknown, if you will. So he's well known the first third, he's unknown the second third. And every great leader, we've said this before, every great leader seems to have these desert times in their lives. Moses' desert time was quite long. And so you got 40 years, and 80-year-old Moses has this experience at the burning bush. And then Aaron and others come around him, and he heads for Egypt to, at 80 years old, tell the Pharaoh, it's time for you to let my people go. It's time for you to let God's people go. It's time for you to do this. And so he confronts, he starts giving direction. He starts making a difference. He doesn't really start making a true difference and giving good direction until he's in the last third of his life. Listen. Leadership is not a microwave event. Leadership is something that takes time to develop within you. It takes time for you to begin to understand, even just to understand who you are as a leader and understand what God's going to do through you in a leader. And sometimes you feel like you're getting a late start because maybe you didn't get at it till you were a lot older. Listen to me. Moses did all of his work that we remember in the last third of his life. Listen to me. God wants to use you, but he's got to have you figure out who you are and then teach you how to work and how to make a difference. Now, Moses, by the time we get to the Red Sea, and he's led the children of Israel across the Red Sea, by the time we get there, Moses has already established himself as someone that will always be remembered in Jewish history. He's already established as that. He has led to a higher degree than anyone else in the history of this nation, other than Joseph himself, which is the one that took them to Egypt. He has led in tremendous ways. He's already established as a leader. But the difference, listen, the difference between really, really good leaders and great leaders is the building of a structure that can hold the organization or the group together. That's where Moses comes now. He begins to start learning to build structure. Now, a few things you're going to have to do. I'm going to give you 3 things you're going to have to do to understand structure, to build structure, okay? So to get real structure that makes a real difference, there are 3 things you're going to have to do. I'm going to start in chapter 15, verses 22 to 27. And here's the story. Let me just give you the story. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days, they traveled in the desert without finding water. This is a big deal. This is an existential threat to their existence. Without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That is why the place is called Marah. Marah meaning bitter water. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" Then Moses called out to the Lord. Watch. And the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He said, why did God show him a piece of wood? Watch. He threw the piece of wood into the water, and the water became fit to drink. Something about the structure of the wood took the poison out of the water, and they were able to drink it. There, the Lord issued a ruling and instruction for them and put them to the test. He said, if you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord. Listen to the word. I am the Lord who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. Listen to it. I am the Lord who heals you. God gave Moses a visual lesson that he taught the people. He gave him a piece of wood, that when this piece of wood was thrown into water that was unusable, it rendered the water usable. The wood, listen, this piece of wood healed the water. And then God says, just like that piece of wood healed the water, I'm going to heal you. See, if you're going to build a structure, an organization that really matters, and I'm kind of hearkening back to all of the last lessons. I'm kind of hearkening back to the last 80 years of Moses' life. You've got to start with the real you. And the real you is something that's got to be fixed. Don't get mad at me. The real you is something that's got to be fixed. It's got to be adjusted. It's got to be healed. Every one of us needs healing because every one of us has messed up, broken ways of thinking. Every one of us has some stinking thinking that God's got to get rid of. And when we allow God to enter the pool of water that is our lives, his presence is what sweetens the water. It's what heals us. Him inside of us causes us, listen to his words, it causes us to listen carefully to the Lord your God and to do what is right in his eyes, to pay attention to his commands and decrees. That's what causes this. And in return, none of the diseases brought on the Egyptians are brought on us. None of the diseases common to the world around us come to us. Why? Because we're following what God has called us to do. God has changed us. God has purified us, but it's got to be real. The real you. Why? Because integrity matters. Integrity is, look, you can't fake this thing. You can't say, I'm going to be a Christian leader and then try to fake being a Christian. You can't say, I'm going to be a Christian leader and then fake being godly. You've got to actually be what God called you to be. And if you're not, look, people will smell that out. They will figure that out. They'll see that on you and they will stop following you. They may not even know why. They may not even understand why all of a sudden they've lost confidence, but they will lose confidence because building a structure starts with a solid leader. It starts with the real you. Now, Exodus chapter 17 gives us another story. So let me read this one. Watch. The Amalekites, one of the ites. There's a lot of ites in this area at this point. The Amalekites, the Hittites, the Jebusites. There's a lot of ites. And here's the Amalekites. They came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites because the Amalekites are attacking them. Remember, in this day and age, what groups would do is one people group would attack another one, not to destroy them so much as to steal their resources. So they were looking to get wealth, or they were looking to get food, or they were looking to get supplies, or they were looking to get livestock. Somehow they were wanting to take the resources that the Israelites had. So the Israelites can't just ignore this. Otherwise, the Amalekites will leave them impoverished and their people will starve. So Moses says, go and fight the Amalekites so we can put a stop to this. Tomorrow, he says, I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. Remember, this is the staff that they've already watched. If Moses holds up this staff, the Red Sea parts. So they believe, the people believe deeply in the power of God as evidenced when Moses holds up this staff. He says, I will go up on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses and Aaron and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. Let me just tell you, when God has called you to be the leader, and he has worked through you, and your people have seen that, they gain strength from you. They need to see you being strong. They need to see you being in charge. They need to see you being connected to God. They understand the powers from God. If you've taught them this, they understand the powers from God. But they also understand that you're their leader and they're following you. They're looking at you. And when you're falling down, they're falling down. And when you're getting up, they're getting up. So it says when he was holding up his hands, they were winning. But when he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, everybody listen to me, your hands will grow tired. You are not Superman. You are not able to do this by yourself. You cannot sustain this without help. When your hands grow tired, you need an answer. So when Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him. He sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua, because they worked together, watch, you've got Aaron, you've got Hur, you've got Joshua. You're seeing this, right? Watch. You've got Moses, but around him are Aaron, Hur, and Joshua. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. And then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." See, we're learning so much about God. He said, because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation. The real you, integrity matters. That's where we started. The real you, Mara, that healed, the wood that healed the waters. By the way, that's the name of God, our healer. It is that place. Then you get to hear the Amalekites and you get the name of God, our banner. And so God, our banner, he's the one that is before us. He's the one that's giving us hope, because we look on the hill and we see him. We see his power. We see his leader. We see his person. We see that, and it gives us courage, and we fight. But it's more than one person. Yes. Everybody hear me? Yes. The Israelites would look up on the top of that hill, and what they saw was Moses and the staff in his hand. I get it. I get it. It was the leader they saw, but it was not the leader by himself. The leader required that Aaron was on one side giving him strength, that Hur was on the other side giving him strength, and that Joshua was in the battle leading the army. It required all four of them, not just Moses. The real you, integrity matters, must be supplemented by the real team. The real team. Now listen to me. You must. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. You must find an inner circle that you can trust. You must find an inner circle that will hold up your arms, hold up your strength, give you a place to sit, and lead others into battle. You must find that. You cannot be Aaron. You cannot be Hur. You cannot be Josh. You cannot be Joshua. You cannot be these three people and still be Moses. Okay, you just can't. And maybe God's called you to be Aaron, and you think, but I want to be Moses. Wait, Aaron played a massive role in this. He was a leader of high proportion. You know, Hur is a leader of high proportion. Joshua will actually take over after they go into the land. He will be the next leader of the nation of Israel. Don't look down on these people's positions. Don't look down on what they've done. Understand that God calls leaders to the place they need to be. And without Aaron, Hur, and Joshua, there would have been no victory on this day. There's got to be an inner circle. And if you're the Moses, you got to choose an inner circle you can trust. He had to trust Joshua, that Joshua would win that battle and do all the smart things and all the right things to keep the Israelites alive and bring them victory. But he also had to trust Aaron and Hur to lift his hands up. You got to choose an inner circle you can trust. Then we move to Exodus chapter 18. The next day it says, now the next day Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people. Different role now. He was the military leader before, because they were overcoming the Amalekites. That's in the last chapter. But in this chapter, he's now going to be the judge between them. He's going to solve disputes between Israelites. He took his seat to serve as judge for the people. And they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw what Moses was doing for the people, he said, "What is this you're doing for the people? Why do you alone," listen to it, "why do you alone," hear it, "why do you alone sit as judge while all these people stand around you from morning till evening?" Moses answered, "Because the people come to me seeking God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it's brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions." Listen to it another way. "Moses, why are you doing this all by yourself?" "Well, because nobody else can. I'm the only one. I'm the only one that has this authority. I'm the only one that has the voice of God. I'm the only one that can help them. I'm the only one that's wise enough to do this." Sounds different, doesn't it? And yet that's what too many leaders are saying. I have to make all the choices. Moses' father-in-law replied, listen to his reply. When your in-laws are blunt, it's kind of a cool thing. Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you are doing is not good." Listen to me. If you're the only one in your organization making decisions, then what you are doing is not good. And it is on you and these people, or you and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. They're going to wear themselves out with frustration by not being able to get to you. And you're going to wear yourself out because everybody counts on you to make every decision. Can I be honest? If you have to make every decision, what do you have a team for? You have to empower that team. Watch what's going on. Then Jethro continues. "The work is too heavy for you." Can I get an amen? The work is too heavy for you. You say, "Pastor, you don't understand. I'm stronger than that." Stop it. You're not that strong. You need others around you. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. "Listen now to me," he says, "and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God." If you're a pastor, I want you to hear me. You must be the people's representative before God. That's your primary duty. "And bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees. Teach them his decrees and instructions, and show them the way they're to live and how they're to behave." Teach them, show them. You be the representative. "But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens." Some can handle thousands. Some can handle hundreds. Some can handle fifties. Some can handle tens. Don't ever be confused by the fact that not everybody has the same skill set or capacity for leadership. Understand that people are different and they lead differently. He says, "But have them bring every difficult case to you. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. That will make your load lighter because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened. Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything he said. He chose capable men from all Israel and made them leaders of the people, officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. They served as judges for the people at all times. But the difficult cases they brought to Moses, but the simple ones they decided themselves. Listen to me. The real you, integrity matters, okay? The real you, integrity matters. The real team, you must gather an inner circle you can trust. But listen to me. The real genius, ready for it? The real genius is take wise counsel. Listen to other people. Sure, God made you the leader, but that doesn't mean he only gives good ideas to you. Sure, God made you the leader, but that does not mean he means for you to do everything. Yes, God made you the leader. But if you'll empower other leaders that God puts around you, what was once impressive now becomes miraculous. You see, God wants to do so much more in, through, and around you. But the difference between people who do good things and people who accomplish great things, the difference is a structure. The difference is an organization. As the church got larger, as we were leading here, it was very interesting to me that every time the church hit a new level of growth, my job description changed. I think I kind of thought my job description would never change. But my job description changed because things I used to do and loved doing, I no longer could do because I had to let somebody else do it. I no longer could do certain things. I no longer could handle my own calendar. Somebody else had to handle my own calendar. I no longer could make sure I got every email answered. Somebody else had to help me along those lines. I no longer could be the one that was greeting every person at the door. Other people had to do that. I no longer could be the one that did the hospital visits or did the counseling sessions. Other people had to do that. Why? Because if I had tried to do all of that, we never would have been able to grow and people would have simply been frustrated. Look, for an organization to grow, the leader must let go of many parts. Look, let me say it this way. Rick Warren said this one time, and I heard him say it, and it changed my view. In order for a church to grow, the pastor must give up the ministry because the people have to do the ministry. But the people must give up control because the pastor has to make the decisions God calls him to make. Folks, listen. While the truth is that we need accountability, and we do, every leader needs accountability. The truth is also that leaders must be allowed to lead. But that means that leaders must allow people around them to do all of the jobs that can possibly be done by anyone else. It's a great question that goes along with this, but I don't have time to get into it right now. Just suffice it to say this. You can do great things. You can do great things because God made you into a great leader. But you'll never do miraculous things until you take the wise counsel of building an organization and a structure around you. Because great, miraculous accomplishments happen when people work together and leaders allow others to lead.